Welcome to another meeting of the Lorain County Commissioners, broadcast exclusively on your Lorain County Community College education station. The Lorain County Commissioners cordially invite you to see the meetings live and in person every Thursday morning. The meetings are located in the Lorain County Administration Building, located at 226 Middle Avenue in downtown Elyria. The meetings start at 9:30 a.m. on most weeks. Now, enjoy the meeting.
As you can see, Commissioner Moore is not going to be here this morning, so we will continue on without him. Madam Clerk?
Well, I didn't bring one. I didn't know I was going to. But thank you for asking.
Agenda resolutions, I need a motion to approve the Endowment Family Services bills for payment.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Investments?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Appropriations?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
None.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Transfers?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
There are two advances this morning. They're both for the Community Development Block Grant. I understand their state funds are received. One is for $237,000. One is for $327,800.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Requisitions.
So moved, but I have some questions on some of them.
And I have some exceptions, so I'll second.
Discussion.
Yes. I guess
Yes.
we're going to discuss.
$429, $437, and $496. These are all computer related, and I'd like some more information on them. I'd like to know what they're for. It says on here for the Justice Center. That seems like it's kind of early.
Those computers are for the construction manager. Under reimbursables, they have a certain amount of equipment that they buy that we left with the county when the project's over. Rather than have them purchase them, we were able to save a considerable amount of money on that line item by purchasing the Office of State Purchasing into our people. We're going to save several thousands of dollars by doing that. That's why we're purchasing the computers. So there's a line item and a reimbursable in their contract. So we're obligated to purchase that, or they're allowed to purchase that equipment, and we're obligated to pay for it under the contract.
And where is it going to be?
It'll be over in the construction manager's office next to solid waste, and upon the completion of the project, the equipment will be left with the county. The only reason that you're seeing it, Commissioner Vacy, is because we wanted to keep the cost as low as possible by us buying the equipment. But if we don't buy it, they can buy it under their contract.
And then charge us for it.
Probably 3 times as much.
Okay, that was one.
I just have a question. You said did you mean 496?
Yes, isn't that what I said?
Well, yes, but I was looking for what it was. Was that computer
It's
related?
way on the bottom, yes. Justice Center software for computer system for the project manager.
Oh, okay, that was the 1,768.
as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
And let's see. Okay. And then I am going to make an exception, the 426 for the chamber. I've said often that I believe that this money could go to the Economic Development Department, and I'd never seen a report from the chamber for all the money we've given them. I'd like to know what they do with the money we give them. So that's an exception for me. And then 479 and 480. It's some computer equipment for the record center, and I'd like to know if Ernie reviewed these purchases. Do you know, Jim?
On those particular ones, I don't believe so. Though that's our ongoing digital imaging program. It's not necessarily computers that will be used by one individual. We're digitalizing all our records out there. I looked over those purchases, but I don't have, if Madam Clerk will pull the specific PO, I may be able to speak better to it.
With the summary sheet or the actual requisition?
Well, let me see
I think
if
you're going to need the summary.
Okay, 480 is the maintenance agreements on current application and the software that we use, licensing agreement. There's three particular items broken out there. 479 is the jukebox is what holds various CDs that are pulled up when you're writing to them and pulling them up for imaging of archived records. So this piece of equipment is just we have some of that already, and we just need more of it.
Okay, because I was under the impression that Ernie was, anything to do with computers, any computer purchases, that Ernie was going to review them before they came to us. And I just wondered if this had been reviewed.
I don't believe so, and I can have them review it, but some of these things aren't really, well, they're not
Well,
really...
maintenance I can understand, but
Right.
when they're new purchases, I'd like for Ernie to review them.
Yvonne is...
Go ahead, Yvonne.
Yvonne, do you have anything to say?
Ernie did to review from Jim's direction that we give them all to Ernie Smith, and he reviews them, so he did review that one. He initials off on the requisitions, or there's a letter there that states that
Well,
he did.
that's why I was going to pull the PO to see if it
Okay,
had
yeah, because he did review them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, and 422 and 420. I think we need quotes on those.
Which issues were those?
Okay, 420, these were two for the auditor.
Well, this has been
I
an ongoing-
also asked for some additional information on that, and
They're pretty high quotes. One's $45,000, a little bit over $45,000.
Well, there was a couple
And
issues.
another one for
I spoke to Mr. Innes this
$209,000.
morning, and I asked him if he would just provide us some more information on that. So maybe you and Jerry could check on that after the meeting. I was going to ask that we hold those till at least next
Okay.
week anyway. Those are my two. So,
Oh, okay.
were you finished then?
That's all I have.
Okay, so
And I want to note that the exception was for 426, and we're going to hold 422 and 420.
okay. And are the rest of them? Have you had sufficient answers then that you can vote on this?
I think it's sufficient if they need it, and then they're going to cost more.
Okay. Got that, Madam Clerk?
Yes.
All right.
So, take the roll call then.
Thank you.
Mrs. Vacy?
With my exceptions.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye, with the noted exception in the whole.
Okay. Travel expenses.
So moved.
Second, but I have
Discussion?
a question. Yes, Yvonne, I noticed that there was two travel expenses on there for you, 144 and 145, but that's a one-day trip. I mean, it's a one-day conference, and we have two people going down there. And my question is, couldn't one person go and bring the information back?
That is for our reverse auction, and I have Danica Ransom working on that also, because it's such a big project that we're trying to get up off the ground. The conference starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. You have to be there. So I bring her along with me so that she can also get the information from that conference.
Okay, it's my opinion that one person can go and bring the information back. Do you feel that that you can do that? If you go down there, you can bring information back and share it with Danita?
It's my opinion, I would like her to go down because it's so much involved, and it's a new House bill that I'm trying to get other people in the department involved in this also because it's such a big project.
Okay. How do you feel, Commissioner Blair?
Well, I think that there's a lot to learn, and it's not that great of an expense, and they're going to share. They're together on the issue. And,
Well, it's 2 days for 2 employees, too.
No,
well,
it's,
I think they're leaving.
We're leaving after work, and in the evening Tuesday, it'll be there early Monday
Because the
morning.
meeting starts at
Okay.
8.
So we're not down there for 2 days. It's just that we're leaving Tuesday to get there so we could be there early Wednesday morning.
Okay, thanks.
Uh-huh.
Is that all?
That's it.
Okay. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Okay. Approving bills for payment.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion?
I'm here.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
To authorize various personnel actions as indicated on the summary for employees within the jurisdiction of the Lorain County Commissioners.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
To authorize the Lorain County Domestic Relations Court to file a grant application to create a juvenile mentoring program for work with at-risk youth, which will support the court's established program. The selected grantee will receive a 3-year budget of up to $220,000. There is no local cash match required. At this time, the grant has expired, though. The general fund monies will not be extended to operate this program.
Okay, that was my question. John, what assurance do we have that the general fund won't pick this up after 3 years?
I would say, Commissioner, in my opinion, the best assurance is the resolution itself, which goes on record that will say, so in a year, if memories fade, we could always come back to the resolution. And obviously that would not encourage or at least not permit general fund monies unless something else would alter that.
May I offer a suggestion? We did one of these about 4 weeks ago, and Commissioner Blair wanted a notation in the resolution that the general fund would not want to continue this program absent grant money to support it. I think that we need to go on record similarly with this grant. Obviously, they're still going to make the inquiry should the grant monies run out, but at least your position is known that you're supporting it in its entirety now. But there should be no misunderstanding that there is no long-term commitment to this by this board should the funds evaporate.
Madam Chair, I move we approve item number 10 and the last sentence to read that general fund monies will not be required to fund this program at the end of the grant.
A second.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye. That's what happens so often. The state will grant us money, say, for a year or 2 years. A program gets started, and then at the end of the year or the time period, they come back and say, well, we hired X number of people. Now we would like to continue this program. It's an excellent program, blah, blah, blah. And it winds up another program on the general fund list. And this is quite a large program, $220,000. Mm-hmm. So we want to be assured that at the end of 2 years, they're not going to come back and say, we want to continue this program and have the general fund fund it.
Okay. Number 11, we need to advertise for bids for 41 100% recycled plastic contemporary benches for the Solid Waste Management Department. This will not exceed $18,081. One bench will be given to each city and township, with the remaining benches for the county. Bids will be received until 2 p.m. on Monday, March 25th, 2002, in the public hearing room. I'd like to publish the notice in the Chronicle-Telegram and Morning Journal on March 11th and 18th, 2002.
So moved.
I'll second.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
I'd like to approve change order number 2 to Ohio Diversified Services Incorporated of Rocky River, Ohio, in the amount of $7,626.85 for the 911 EMA Building Addition project. The change order is for the breaking, removing, and hauling of sandstone block foundation and rubble brick that was encountered during excavation for the water and sanitary sewer. We need to authorize, well, in this case, the Vice President to execute on behalf of the Board.
Also move.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
I'd like to authorize salary increase for John Derafay, the bailiff, Lorain Municipal Court, effective retroactive to January 1st, 2002. The biweekly rate will increase from $591.70 to $593.92, and this amount does reflect the county's 2/5 share.
So moved. Second.
Had a choice.
Discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
We're voting.
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Award contract to Plass Brothers Paving of Elyria, Ohio, in the amount of $26,385.08 for the parking lot rehabilitation on the south side of Temple Court project, adjacent to the Lorain County Administration Buildings parking deck. The engineer's estimate of cost is $31,963.16, and this was the lowest and most responsive bid received complying with specifications.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
I'd like to approve and enter into the amended subordination agreement with Excel Corporation, doing business as Excel Color, Avon, Ohio. The Lorain County Economic and Industrial Development Corporation has recommended approval, and by Commissioners' Resolution number 00749 that was adopted September 28, 2000, approved this revolving loan fund application in the amount of $132,000 for the purchase of machinery and equipment at their proposed facility. This amendment is to reflect a change in the primary lender to American Commercial Finance Corporation, West Hartford, Connecticut. We also need to authorize the President to execute on behalf of the Board.
So moved.
Vice President, excuse me.
Second.
Discussion?
None here.
Mr. Twain, you want to make a comment? No.
Did you want to make a comment, Ron?
Good morning, Commissioners. We met this morning at 8:30 with the CIC for the county, and they did recommend approval of this to the Board of Commissioners, and that's all I wanted to comment on.
Okay, thanks.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
I'd like to advertise for bids for rehabilitating the Grafton Road Bridge number 0396. Bids will be received until 2:30 p.m. on Monday, March 25th, 2002. The engineer's estimate of cost is $132,000. I'd like to publish the notice in the Chronicle Telegram and Morning Journal on March 11th and 18th, 2002.
Also move with great pleasure, because I've been after them to do this for 4 years.
Second.
Thank you.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
To authorize the appointment of Frank Titilio from Lorain County Chamber of Commerce and alternate Brian Bonham from the OSU Extension Agent Economic Development to the NOACA TAC pursuant to the new Code of Regulations for the year 2002.
Madam Chair, there is a letter in item number 17 from NOACA that speaks to the reason for this request. If you get that letter out so we can look at it. And the letter was sent because I've had some conversation with Howard Mayer, the executive director, because once we approved this code of regulations, this was part of the changes that were made, and this Transportation Advisory Committee is meeting a week from tomorrow. And, we went to NOACA, several of us, at the last meeting to talk about that commuter rail study. And I expressed to Howard that it appeared to me that the composition of this Transportation Advisory Committee was going to change a little bit, and that they should get this committee in place, that they were going to be making a recommendation on a very important issue to Lorain County. So anyway, this came in the mail either Monday or Tuesday, and these names are my insertion, and they are not the last issue on it, but thank you. There's a quote here. It says, 5 members representing the Chamber of Commerce or equivalent organization of each member county appointed by the President of the Governing Board upon consultation with the Boards of Commissioners of each county with approval of a majority of board members present and voting. And what the memo says is Please note that in order to have private sector representatives seated at the March 15th TAC meeting, these individuals will need to be approved at the March 8th Governing Board meeting, which is tomorrow. So I was trying to timely process through the Board of Commissioners. And Mr. DiTilio is part of a consortium that meets with area community development departments and works with the governor's task force too. So I kind of thought he fit the bill of what they were asking for. And Ron Twining, of course, our community development director, clearly does, but Ron is already a member of the committee, as is the county engineer. So, and I want to tell you a little later in the meeting what our local commuter rail task force recommended, and that's why I suggested Brian Bonham as the alternate, because at that rail task force meeting we had last Friday, Brian, after listening to about an hour's discussion with the 20-some people that were there, Brian made the suggestion about how we might present our issue in a very good fashion. So anyway, I thought they were two good representatives for Lorain County, so that's why I'm suggesting that.
Okay, I talked with Shirley from NOACA yesterday, and I understand that it should be someone from the private sector, but my thoughts are that it should be from an agency, that the clients use the transit service so that they're aware of the needs that their clients have. And I talked with Bob Felkenstein from Neighborhood House, asked him if he would be willing to serve on this TAC committee, and he said yes, he would be. But I think we would be better off having someone that's familiar with the needs of the transit system, and I think that they can offer a lot of input. And I would go along with having Brian on there also as the alternate.
Just to piggyback on your comments, presently, I am a member of the TAC committee, and Debbie Moore has been my alternate, so she has been going, as the representative of Lorain County Transit, she has been going to these TAC meetings up to this point in time. I don't know the gentleman, and I think that it's a broader issue than just transit.
But I think that everybody has something different to bring to the table.
Well, I don't disagree with that.
And I think that his views on the needs for the transit system would really be helpful.
And I just want to rehash just a little bit. When we went to the last Transportation Advisory Committee meeting, Mr. DiTilio was there, and Joe Kazura, the state representative from Lorain, was there, as were a number of people to speak to this issue. And David Goss, who is, I don't know his correct title, but he is with the Greater Cleveland Growth Association, and Frank DiTilio had contacted him about this issue. And during the discussion of the regular meeting, David Goss spoke in support of, at least that's what I heard, in support of what Lorain County was attempting to do by virtue of his affiliation and his knowledge of the issue that was relayed to him by Mr. DiTilio. So, if we can't reach agreement, we will leave it vacant until later.
Okay. We'll hold this until Commissioner Moore returns.
Okay. Okay, need to approve the following Commissioners' Board meeting minutes and waive the reading of same for December 13th, 18th, and 20th, 2001, January 14th, 17th, 24th, 31st, February 7th, 14th, 19th, 21st, and 28th, 2002.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Okay, reports, comments. Mr. Cordez, Administrator?
A couple of brief issues. I'm going to request a resolution from the board to purchase the parking lot adjacent to the Bubbles building from the city of Elyria. We have gained closure on the issue. The purchase price will be $40,000 for the parking lot. I have a contract that meets our needs from the city of Elyria. There was some issues that's been going back and forth. So I'd like to request from the board a resolution authorizing the purchase of this property for $40,000. And I will give Madam Clerk a copy just to fill in the specifics, but you're both familiar with the parking lot I'm talking about, adjacent to Boble's.
I was curious how you arrived at the sale price.
We did some down-home bargaining on the issue.
Well, who do you think came out ahead?
I'm not really wanting to say that publicly, but of course...
You better, otherwise I'm not moving.
Obviously, we did.
Okay, well, I wanted to hear you say that.
Yes, Jerry's given me the POC term. It was beneficial, and both parties came away mutually agreeable to the outcome.
Oh, all right. Also move.
Second.
Discussion? Mrs. Blair?
How many parking areas will this give us?
It's not a great deal. I want to say somewhere in the neighborhood of about 18.
Well,
It's
when we have so little parking areas, I think that is a great deal, really.
You'll be seeing a lot of issues on parking from me in the
I
next
know.
4 weeks as we get ready to close down all the lots where the Justice Center is going to go. This is one small piece of that we've been working on. You passed another today, which is the repaving of that area behind the parking deck, where we're going to be adding 34 spots back there. We're in a bit of a situation.
I know, and I want to bring up another one under new business, too.
Okay. We received a letter from New Russia Township, too late to go on the agenda. They need to go out for a Clean Ohio Conservation Fund grant. They're asking for our support. I'll read this and then I'll ask you to pass a resolution of support. The New Russia Township Board of Trustees will be applying for a Clean Ohio Conservation Fund grant to assist with Phase 1 of the Park Nature Preserve Project. The first
Phase 1, please, Jim, of what?
Of the Park Nature Preserve Project. The first phase consists of pond excavation and contouring of cemetery and park areas, preserving and enhancing the wetlands that presently exist on the property. This is what they want to do. They're asking for a resolution of support from the commissioners. Obviously, the more support you gain for a project, the better your chances are of receiving grant money.
Excuse me, Jim, but we have to go back and vote on the $40,000 parking lot.
Didn't we vote?
No.
Oh.
We just had discussion. Mrs. Blair?
Sorry.
Aye.
Mrs. Bassett?
Aye.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm familiar with this, Commissioners. I talked with Elaine King from New Russia. There is absolutely no county money involved with this. There's some strange language in the statute, but what it appears to envision is they want to make sure that the local entities aren't interfering with anything that is being done countywide. So there's just a provision in the statute that indicates that they should try to obtain an indication from the county that the county really has no objection to it.
So
But
they
there's no county money whatsoever involved in this.
They need a letter of support.
Just a resolution indicating that, right, that the commissioners support their efforts.
I would move to support their efforts.
The resolution will state that, then?
To support their efforts with no funding from the county general fund.
Okay. I'll second.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye. The reason I hesitated on this is because I am the chairperson of this committee, this NRAC committee. Did this go to Roxanne?
When you're done.
And I wonder if there's some, well...
If you should be voting on it?
No. I just was curious if there's about 13 applications that have been passed out from the commissioner's office here, and there's some other townships that picked them up too. I was just wondering if we couldn't we shouldn't probably hold it till next Thursday because the deadline is Friday and they have to make several copies of it and stuff.
In all honesty, we read over the statute about 6 or 7 times. I'm not even absolutely sure the statute requires the commissioners, but I told them it's better safe than
Well,
sorry.
I think that was a question that was raised. And so you're not sure, but
The
that'd be
statute is
safe and
very,
sorry.
and we discussed it, and then they thought, well, even if it's not needed, they thought it would be a nice gesture to let the commissioners know what was going on there.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else, Jim?
I'm pleased to inform the board that we're out to bid tomorrow for the Justice Center. We're on track. I want to thank you for your support in getting those resolutions done quickly over the past few weeks. We will be in the papers tomorrow, so things are progressing nicely. This is the time of uncertainty while we wait for the bids to come back to see if it's going to be under our cost. It's pretty much out of our control for about the next 5 or 6 weeks, but we are on track.
When are the bids due back?
They're due back about the first week of April. I think it's right around the 10th or 12th. I don't have my sheet in front of me, Commissioner. You'll be looking at the bids for award on April 18th. Groundbreaking still set for May 3rd. The financing is set to be in place on April 17th. Next week, early next week, you'll be presented with some options of a possible finance mix for the county to achieve maximum use of the dollars we have and to gain some low-cost financing. So that'll be coming to you probably no later than Monday, and there'll be a couple alternatives there for you to choose from, and John Rokasy, myself, will be meeting with the board members to bring you up to speed on that. That's progressing nicely. We met with Morgan Stanley, and things are underway there, and there's some very, very progressive issues out there that we can take a look at to save the county some money. So we're comfortable that things are well on track. And that's all I have this morning. Thank you.
Jim, do you have any information on the Bicentennial Bell? Where are we at with that? Do we know where it's going to be cast and a time or a date? Or
I have a lot of stuff on the Bicentennial Bell.
did we set a date yet?
Well, it wasn't... We recommended a few locations, and we prioritized those recommendations, and the state chose a location and a date for us. They're going to cast a bell at the county fair in 2003. Now, I originally thought it was 2002, but it's going to be in 2003.
But it will be at the county fair?
Right now, it appears it'll be at the county fair. There's some issues we're working out logistically with the fair folks. They've been, we've had a very good understanding on issues, and I've found them to be somewhat agreeable, and it seems like we're going to partner on this. We're planning to recommend some very, very exciting things for this county to participate in that issue. There's going to be 4 distinct and separate events while casting the bell. We're preparing an agenda of things to present to the board. There'll be local bands. We're going to recommend a child from each political subdivision be chosen to drop one of the ingots into the pot to cast a bell. We're going to be recommending purchasing smaller bells with each political jurisdiction's name engraved on the bells. That'll be a little duplicate of the Liberty Bell. A lot. There's going to be a lot to do. It's going to be a very exciting time for Lorain County. So all those issues are being put together right now. Ms. Strozak, who is hiding in the back of the room, is our coordinator for this event, and she's got a lot of information I can have her share with you. It's a little bit early because the Fair Board is meeting and talking about a few issues, and I didn't want to go too far with letting this board know what was going on until I found out that the Fair Board was firmly committed to a few things. Otherwise, they would be subject to change. We have a lot of time.
Are you discussing this with the Historical Society? Because I attended a meeting that they had in regards to the Bicentennial, and they were not aware that we were working on the Bicentennial Bell, and I think that they were going to start moving on working with it. So somehow we have to coordinate with them to let them know what we're doing.
I can speak with them. They have other events that we funded them for. Clearly, the state left this to the county commissioners and how they wanted to deal with it. I don't see any problem with having the Historical Society play some role.
I think they almost have to, because there's other municipalities that are doing things too, and I think we all have to coordinate what we're doing.
Sure. We'll speak with them. You're going to be very pleased, though, with all the information that we're going to present to you. This is going to be a real good time for all entities in this county to come together around one event. Normally, there's a little bit of division between the southern end of the county and the northern end, especially when it comes to issues at the county fair. But I think you're going to see a real coming together. I have to come back and give you more information because I want to require a budget and some money to do this. There are some economic issues that we're going to have to fund. I think that's another reason why they're mainly putting this in with the counties because of the availability of being able to fund this. But this will be a county-wide thing, and the commissioners are going to have a lot of things that they're going to be able to do with this. So we'll be getting you a flood of information probably within the next 30 to 60 days. I just want to make sure that the Fair Board feels comfortable with the issues out there. Obviously, they can tell us that they won't host the event, but it is this desire of the Bicentennial Commission from the state that it be done at the county fairgrounds. They think that's the best location for this county.
Right, and then we can move that bell around to the Apple Festival, the Corn Festival, and then...
Right, that's one of the reasons they need money. The bell is cast, and it's at no cost to us, but we have to buy things like the stand and the trailer, and there's a lot of issues there. So it's not going to be a great deal of funding, but in order to make the event something to remember, we're going to need some dollars. We're also planning on asking for money to videotape the whole process so we can archive it in the libraries for generations to come.
Okay, maybe you could just put a little synopsis together of what you plan on doing.
And we do plan on doing that with you. Within the next 30 to 60 days, you'll have a
Okay, and I know, too, that the county flag is going to be flying at the State House during the Bicentennial, too. So...
Great.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Okay, Assistant County Prosecutor, Mr. Innes.
I would like to request an executive session over a pending litigation issue. I don't have anything further.
Okay, Commissioner's report.
I just have one thing that I want to bring up, just for a point of information, for your information, Commissioner Blair. Behind the train depot, there's I don't know if it's a shed or a garage, but it could be demolished, and there could be another 4 or 5 parking spaces there. So I talked with Jim about it yesterday, and he seems to think that our maintenance people could do this, and I think we should get started on it so that we could have that additional parking area.
Where are you talking about?
Behind the train depot, attached to the big building, there's like a little shed. Mr. Kennedy's here, and he owned the building previously, and maybe you can expound on a little bit. You'll have to come up to the mic.
I'm William Kennedy. That old building has only one car in it, and it was been requested to have been removed. And I'm sure it'll be removed very shortly. And there's nothing else in that building. It would not be a very big job to tear the building down.
Right. And I just suggested you recommended that.
I didn't suggest or recommend. I
recommended it, and he suggested that the maintenance people do the job.
I told Commissioner Bassi that I would go down to the train station, take a look at it, and if our maintenance guys could do it, certainly I would like to use them. So I will be doing that rather promptly this week.
Good. Thank you. Good suggestion.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. I would like to share with you and the clerk and Mr. Cordes, because he was at the meeting, and then the news media I have, this is a copy of a letter that's going to be sent today from the Alliance regarding this commuter rail issue, and we have offered an alternate suggestion about the language that's in this feasibility study, and this was subsequent to our second meeting that we had. And Brian, as I said before, Brian Bonham suggested that we use this language based on this information and the unanimous response in favor of commuter rail in this corridor by Lorain County representatives at the federal, state, and local level. Further inquiry and dialogue with all the interested parties must be undertaken before spending additional planning and/or implementation resources in the Route 1 corridor. I spoke to Howard Mayer yesterday. Yesterday was the deadline for putting things on the agenda for the March 15th TAC meeting, where we originally thought a decision would be made, and Howard advised me that this issue will not appear on the March 15th agenda, and it's anticipated that it'll appear on the April 19th TAC agenda. So, and on the back side is the full page of the report. So I wanted to provide copies of that, and Roxanne, if you give this to the media, I'd appreciate it. And the other issue that I wanted to mention, the other half of the Clean Ohio Fund is the brownfields. And just as an information item for the public, our Issue 2 committee, which consists of Huron, Medina, and Lorain counties, has prepared a timeline for submission for brownfields. And the last day to submit applications and required additional materials to the Ohio Public Works Commission District Integrating Committee, in which a majority of the brownfield resides, is May 10th. This was a fax that came from John Hamilton, the county engineer's office, outlining that deadline. So I just thought that would be of interest. There's a couple of different parts to that Clean Ohio. One is the green fields, the NRAC that we talked about, and the other is the brown fields, which is of interest to some of the major cities, especially Elyria. So I just wanted to share that information, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, old business?
Have none?
I have none.
New business?
None here?
Board correspondence.
I move the reading be waived.
Second?
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Public comment.
Is there anyone here that would like to address the board? Okay, seeing no one would like to address the board, we will go on. We have a 10:30 scheduled for a public hearing for CDBG, New Horizons Fair Housing Grant. So we can either go into executive session if you think 15 minutes is enough. Okay.
I'll second.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, the commissioners have reconvened from the executive session.
Okay.
At 10:30.
Yes, we have a 10:30, the second public hearing for the CDBG New Horizons Fair Housing Grant. Ron Twining.
Thank you, Commissioners. It's my distinct pleasure to present to the Board of Commissioners and the public the second public hearing for application to the State of Ohio for a CDBG grant, a Community Development Block Grant, in order to complete an application for assistance, and that would be called the New Horizon Fair Housing Assistance Program. And today we are pleased to explain to the public and answer any questions that they have this program. As required with any of the CDBG applications, we must hold two public hearings. The first one we held roughly 3 weeks ago to announce all of the potential CDBG projects that the county could apply for, and today we are holding a follow-up, one of several second public hearings, and we are going to talk specifically about the New Horizon Fair Housing Assistance Grant application. This program under CDBG is to allow the Lorain County to identify the housing impediments that exist throughout Lorain County. And we have certain eligibility requirements in order to justify our application, and then the ensuing report that will be an outgrowth of this effort. We started at the county level in 1999 meeting with communities to talk about housing and housing impediments that communities have been facing or other communities are concerned have not been addressed. So we spent, since '99 through the year 2001, really in a dialogue with all of the political jurisdictions that would attend our meetings. I think in total we had 7 different meetings to discuss that. We also involved organizations like Lorain County Urban League to really get our arms around what Lorain County was facing and trying to deal with. As we see growth and as we witness firsthand the pressure of sprawl and growth as Cuyahoga County moves into Lorain County and Lorain County itself expands, we want to make sure that we are not leaving behind any part of our residents, be it based on any of the discriminatory things that typically take place, including the economic that somebody may not be able to afford housing, be it ownership or rental. And that's in large part what this fair housing impediment study is to do, is to identify what kinds of things, housing related, need to be addressed and a strategy plan for it. The last such update was completed in 1995. They should be updated every 5 years. The state of Ohio has given us permission since '99 to have this dialogue with the community so that we can do a much better job updating this 95 proposal. So the Department of Development is very aware that we're updating this at the end of 7 years rather than 5 years, and has been very supportive of that. Let's talk a little bit about the grant and then the selection criteria, the eligibility jurisdictions. Certainly Lorain County is eligible. That is because we are an acquired community of the state of Ohio. Our population, once we take the entitlement cities, our largest cities that go directly to the federal government, Lorain County's remaining population is under 200,000. And therefore we are an acquired city and go receive all of our funding directly to the state of Ohio. There is another community that does not come to Lorain County, that being North Ridgeville, because they are an acquired state community. They receive their funding directly from the state of Ohio. If you remember, we have 5 small cities: Oberlin, Amherst, Sheffield Lake, Avon and Avon Lake, that come directly to us because their population is small enough that they need to go through the county rather than directly to the state of Ohio, but it's large enough that they are earmarked specific funds to provide assistance to them. I know this is somewhat confusing and I probably could have done a better job explaining, but the bottom line is, for this housing impediment study, the New Horizon grants, the 2 eligible entities to go directly to the state of Ohio to receive funding would be the County of Lorain, and we're eligible up to $15,000, and the City of North Ridgeville, which would be eligible to receive $5,000 on its own. We have agreed with the City of North Ridgeville to be the lead applicant for this, and North Ridgeville, under our application, will be applying jointly for the $20,000, and we will do a countywide comprehensive housing impediment study. So that's the application that we will be making to the state of Ohio. It will be for the $20,000, $15,000 for the county, $5,000 for North Ridgeville. It will be one report that will cover not only North Ridgeville's concerns, but all of Lorain County. In order to be eligible for that, we have to have a commitment at the local level. We actually can use our formula grant CDBG money, and we did in fact put in last year's application to the state of Ohio $5,000 for planning. So this $20,000 will be matched with CDBG dollars and give us $25,000, and another local contribution that will be eligible for this is the $10,600 that we are providing for in a formula application to the Urban League for the fair housing assistance that they are under contract to provide. So in total, without asking the general fund for any assistance, we have $35,600 to complete this effort. We do feel that the consultant that will be required to help us put this together with the citizens of Lorain County will be under that, including the publication. So we feel we have a working budget, and at this point, other than the commitment of the staff, we do not need general fund contributions at this point. Looking over the list, we have created a consortium for this program, and that is the county and North Ridgeville. We are trying to put together a well-planned fair housing program. A big part of that will be not only identifying the impediments, but also putting together a plan of action to try to get the word out, what people have as rights, and how we can overcome those impediments. Some of that will be through training programs that we will identify in the strategy. Some will be through development of brochures that will be made available. The training typically can be done with senior citizens, community at large, go into a city and put together a program for their residents. Certainly meetings like this that are televised will help get the message out. Organizations such as the Lorain County Urban League will help get this message out and do the educational training as well. The training will be focused on Lorain County and North Ridgeville's assessed needs, and specifically we anticipate the areas being the elderly, the disabled, and the underserved population regarding fair housing. I would remind the commissioners and the public that Lorain County Board of Commissioners did appoint a fair housing board. They have 3 members. They have been meeting since April of 2001, and the staff for the Community Development Department on behalf of the Board of Commissioners will work with that fair housing board in order to complete this study countywide. The final comments that I have to make is to give you an idea of time frame, and then we will ask any questions that anybody in the audience or the commissioners may have regarding this application. Once we complete the application, and we feel that we probably will have that ready to go to the state of Ohio within about 2 weeks, it will take the Department of Development sometime between 2 weeks and 6 weeks to make a determination. They are fully aware and have encouraged us to do this, so we hope that it will be sooner rather than later with this 6 weeks for them to review the application and make the award. The program, once we enter into the agreement with the state of Ohio and start receiving the funds, will cover a period of 14 months. So we do look at the early part of next summer before this report is released. The ceiling, again, for the grant to the state of Ohio would be a maximum of $15,000, $5,000 for each local jurisdiction. Lorain County and North Ridgeville jointly are large enough and have enough population that we are serving. We are making the full application, and we also have in place the necessary local match committed towards this program. At that point, we will ask, obviously, for questions, and then we would ask that the Board of Commissioners close the public hearing following the questions. And we also would like a motion authorizing us to submit this application for the New Horizon grant to the state of Ohio and allow the President to execute the documents necessary. Are there any questions that the commissioners or anybody in attendance have regarding this second public hearing?
Yeah. What kind of training are you talking about, Ron?
Training just to be aware, to make citizens aware.
So you plan on training citizens?
To inform citizens of their rights as far as housing needs, whether it's rental rights or We also will sit down with real estate agents and tell them what they, under the federal law should be doing and what they need to do in order to make sure that people understand. Banks, we will sit down with them. We will talk to the underserved population to make sure that they understand that they are entitled to certain rights. So the training is all encompassing. We will have different types of audiences that we will reach out. I think we're trying to set it up so at least once a month we have a training activity taking place to an audience so that we can get the message out.
Okay, and your audience, a public audience, will be the people that are putting application in for grants to repair their homes? Is this...
That can be an audience, but that's not the audience we're typically looking at. We're looking at a captive audience. It may be attorneys that deal with purchase agreements or estate planning and things like that. There may be an audience specifically dealing with nursing home patients and elderly people that need certain care and benefits. We may have an audience where we go over to the neighborhood house and talk specifically to homeless individuals to let them know that they have certain rights and are eligible for certain activities under the federal funds that are available. But it may also include our CHIP applicants that come to us.
Will this be done with the staff that you now have, or do you think you're going to have to hire someone else?
We don't anticipate hiring any additional staff to do this. Some of it will be done by our staff, but a big portion of it, remember the $10,600, we're under contract with the Urban League. They are to do the educational trainings for us and have been doing that right along. We also can bring in other people that have a specific need. When we talk about banking requirements, every now and then we ask bank officials to come in and do the training. So we may have the occasion to bring people in to augment us, but we do not anticipate hiring at this point any additional staff.
I keep liking the way you say at this point, because you said that before about the money too. General fund at this point is not needed.
Right.
But how far down the road are you going to come back and say, now we need some more money for this program?
If this report is received, we've anticipated printing 150 copies, and we've budgeted for that. If this report is received and we get requests to print 500 or 800 copies, obviously there's not funding in here, and if those are legitimate requests, that's the type of thing that we may come to the commissioners rather than just printing the extra copies that we would ask for. Staffing, I don't truly see a need to augment our staff. We will bring qualified experts in to assist us.
Okay, one more question, Ron. I had a person within the city of Elyria, so it wouldn't come under the county, but this person was an elderly person that did some repair to her home, and she wound up signing an agreement with the city that if she lived in this house for a lifetime and the house was sold, that she would have to pay this back. And then I've also heard where this, after a period of time of living in the house, that it doesn't have to be paid back. So what is actually fair to an elderly, and why is there such a difference? One says, at any time that house is sold, it's going to have to be paid back, and another entity may say, okay, you live in it for 10 years, and it doesn't have to be paid back.
People will think that you and I set this up, and I appreciate that question because that's exactly why we need to do the housing impediment. The impediments that exist in the city of Elyria or city of Lorain may be that the affordability of housing stock may be such that the elderly, in this particular case, may need some financial assistance to stay in a home or to do home repairs. So their city-specific housing impediment may be that they write their strategy that as they apply for CHIP funding, that they allow improvements to be made to a home, and they defer that as long as that individual, the qualified individual, senior citizen, remain in that house. Then upon their death or sale of the property, it's a lien on that portion. Let's just say it was $5,000 in renovation to replace a furnace. Once they move out, die, or sell the house, then that lien would be activated and the $5,000 may have to be replaced. If that's a strategy of that particular community. We have had occasions where in the city of Oberlin and under our program, we typically give a 5-year period. If you remain in the structure for 5 years, every year you have 4/5 remaining, and then after the second year you have 3/5 remaining. So you reduce the amount. The notion is, and the protection is, if we go into a house and have an income eligible person that gets $5,000 furnace, we don't want to put a furnace in January and then have them sell that house in June and make the $5,000 profit. So as long as a specified period of time is covered, and we say in 5 years it should be amortized in terms of us, then they have no obligation. The lien is removed and they have that furnace and can sell the house as is. That is part of the strategy that we will be uncovering in order to help these, and those really are flexible enough under the CDBG grants for CHIPS. Sometimes it's waived, sometimes it is a lien that no matter how long they live there, it has to be repaid. It all depends on the application that you make to the state of Ohio.
I think it's unfair that they should have it for no matter how long you live there, because over a period of time, take for example a furnace, it's going to depreciate and you're going to need another furnace. So if you're in that house, for example, if this elderly person is in that house until she's 90 and got this done when she was 60, that's 30 years. That furnace is not going to last that long. It depreciates. She needs another one, so she's now going to be paying double for that repair. And I think that it should be even across the board. If the county is going to have a depreciation level or allowance for payback, I think it should be that way all through the county. Is that what this fair housing thing, this is going to do?
The nature of the consortium is to have that level of discussions. It will not, and I don't want to mislead you or the public, and it will not end up in everybody coming on board with the same practice. It's not intended to do that, but it will help the dialogue, and what we may have is a majority going one way or another because that seems to be reasonable. But it's still a local jurisdiction to make that decision. Now, obviously, we have jurisdiction over every entity in the county except for Elyria, Lorain, and North Ridgeville. The ones that may deviate from what we come up with as a county policy would be those 3 communities. And then anybody else, Amherst, Oberlin, have their own CHIP grant too, but one would hope that through this consortium discussion that they would reflect our needs in their CHIP application.
Well, this particular one is in Elyria.
Right.
And over the years, I'm sure there's some depreciation, and she does need other work done now. Can she appeal and ask for a waiver?
You need to appreciate the fact that we work with the state of Ohio, and Elyria works directly with HUD, and while we both ultimately get our money from the federal government, City of Elyria, City of Lorain have less stringent guidelines that they must follow. So they really need to sit down and talk to Karen Noraki at the City of Elyria to see what her options are based on the federal requirements.
Okay, thanks, Ron. Is there anyone else that has any questions or comments? Commissioner Blair? Okay, I was going to ask you first.
Thank you very much.
I'm David Ashenhurst from Oberlin, which has the 3rd oldest fair housing ordinance in the country after Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and New York City. And I sat on their Human Relations Commission for a while where we dealt with fair housing issues, among other things. So I'm excited to see this. I really had 2 questions. The role of the Urban League is, you mentioned that the $10,600 is already part of a contract with the Urban League. That is to provide fair housing services currently, which means both the testing things they do and that fair housing fair that they put on. already, the educational activities that they're already doing. Is that correct?
Before I ultimately say yes, in broad strokes, that is correct. When you mentioned testing, I think currently under the application we have, the 10-6, we did not ask this year for testing, so that part might be a tad bit misleading, but they certainly take the complaint procedures and everything else associated with fair housing, the educational requirements. The 10,006 is in order to come up with a local match. We could have asked the general fund to provide all of the local match, the $15,600 that was necessary. We thought we were being prudent rather than asking the general fund to provide that $15,600 as a local match. We understood the guidelines and proactively a year ago put aside $5,000 of the formula grant, and then we can also use the money from that same formula grant, the 10-6 that we're under contract with the Urban League to do fair housing work, as the local match rather than the general fund. So in essence, the state of Ohio is permitting Lorain County to more or less double dip on that 10-6. They are providing the annual maintenance service for fair housing, but they are also allowing us to use that contractual arrangement as the local match rather than going to the general fund asking for the 10-6.
That's clear to me, and I hope anybody else who cares about it, it's clear to them as well. The other question was both the anticipation of a consultant to do this fair housing study, and also the potential relationship of that to the consortium of Community Reinvestment Act officers that exists in Lorain County, and the task force on fair lending practices that is already studying some things and providing some information on that. You mentioned a consultant to do it. There is no mention of the consultant in this brief, and I understand that that's going to be part of the proposal that you put into the state, but do you already have a strategy for how you're going to ask for that study to be done, since you're not going to do it yourself? That's right, authorized.
Yeah, right now, that question is for probably 6 months from now or 3 months from now, but I'd be happy to address that because we have thought ahead as a part of this application process. Assuming that we will be granted or awarded this grant by the state of Ohio, we will need, under the state criteria, a consultant to do certain aspects of that. We believe the maximum permitted under the state for that study to be completed would be $12,000. We would go through an RFQ, request for qualification process. Once we are notified within 6 weeks that we've been awarded that grant, we will seek approval for notification by the Board of Commissioners to go out and get a consultant. They will look at the demographic numbers, work with our committee. We do have a list. I think the last list we mailed out was at least 35 individuals or organizations that were specifically invited to our housing impediment discussions that we've held since '99. That list is growing, and that's one reason why we encouraged or requested the state to give us that extra 2 years to really have a better understanding of all of the players that need to be at the table during this discussion. So certainly, David, the organizations that you're asking about, and if you have others, we want their names and contact person, anybody that's interested in housing concerns, because they all need to be at the table during these discussions, because this strategy will involve requesting funds for the federal government and the state of Ohio for the next 5 years. So any participant and any person that knows anything about the housing concerns and needs to be at the table, and that's our effort with this consultant and the staff, and why we're pursuing all of this at this point. Okay.
Okay, Ron, now, are you sure that the funds that we're going to be applying for is going to be enough for a consultant? You don't have any figures on as far as a consultant yet?
We don't have figures on that, but we do have information from the state of Ohio, Joyce Hill with the Fair Housing Office, Department of Development, and she has provided us, the standard state list of consultants that can do work. Kelly Glenn has also served, as you know, as the vice chairman for the Fair Housing Alliance in Northeast Ohio. So with her affiliations with many of the communities in Northern Ohio, she's gotten an even broader list of potential consultants. We know the history of what the state has authorized as far as payment for these studies. Kelly and I have had several discussions. I think the number is light, but Joyce Hill with the state keeps telling us that it can be done for that amount of money. So at this point, we are assuming that the consultant's work will be completed for that $12,000 or less, and that is a part of the $35,600 totally committed in this budget.
Okay, so if there's no one else here that would like to or has any questions, I would move to authorize the Community Development Department to file a grant application to the Ohio Department of Development in the amount of $20,000 for the New Horizon Fair Housing Grant, and the consultant fee is not to exceed $12,000.
Okay.
And authorize the Vice President to sign.
Authorize the Vice President to sign. Thank you.
I'll second that. I do have a question, though. I guess that was your stipulation that the consultant not exceed $12,000?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to be able to do it?
Do what, the application or the consultant?
No, the consultant, because if she's making that part of the application process. I'm just curious. Are you going to be able to do it for that?
To be totally honest, I don't know until we do that. The state of Ohio says we will.
Okay.
And obviously, if we go out for RFQs and find out that it exceeds that, we just will reject everybody's proposals and come back to the Board of Commissioners. So if that's a part of the motion, we can live with that.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, we have 11 o'clock, appointment and continued hearing, proposed annexation of approximately 37.39 acres in Elyria Township to the city of Elyria, Ohio. Attorney John Kegsewalker, agent for the petitioner. Do we need to swear anybody in for this?
Not if it's my anticipation that this is just going to be continued, so if that's what we're doing, we don't need to start.
Good morning. My name is John Kegsewalker. I'll try to keep this very brief. We've been in some discussion with the council for the township and believe that a continuance of this scheduled public hearing and the 11:30 scheduled public hearing may be of benefit to resolving the matter as uncontested by the township at a future point in time. Mr. Brenz, on behalf of the township, has sent some correspondence in concerning that. I believe I also submitted something to Roxanne Blair on that. We'd ask to continue both those hearings at this point.
Okay, to continue this till March the 28th, is that satisfactory with you?
It certainly is. If we could do them at 11 and 11:30 again, that would be wonderful.
Madam Chair, I move that this hearing scheduled for 11 o'clock be continued to March 28th at 11 o'clock. Roxanne, that was okay? All right.
Second.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Thank you.
John?
Do we have to wait until 11:30 for the other being it's continued?
We can go ahead and do it. We'll have to, so that Kristen is not going to...
That's right.
We can go ahead and do it, Commissioners. We'll have to have Roxanne or somebody make a public announcement at 11:30 if there's anybody here, just so that...
Okay, Madam Chair, I move that the hearing scheduled for 11:30 be continued to March 28th at 11:30.
Second.
Any more discussion? Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Vacy?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we will have to wait for the 12 o'clock one.
Yeah.
Okay, once again, is there anyone here that would like to address the board? Okay, then I would move that we recess until 12 o'clock.
I second.
Mrs. Massey?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Lehman, representing the Church of the Open Door. Last public hearing we had, we heard comments from the proponents, and I guess this week we need to hear from the townships and the others. And Jerry, do they have to be sworn in?
Yes.
So anyone wishing to make a comment or a statement, please stand.
One of the things they might want to make any comments about, probably, yeah, you might. Do each of you swear or affirm that the statements you shall give are the truth, as you shall answer to God or under penalty of law for perjury? I do.
Okay. No, we don't have to hear from the proponents again, do we?
Doesn't look, the doctor is giving me the signal that he doesn't want to talk.
Okay. Sir, would you give your name and spell your last name?
Yes, my name is William Holtzman, Holtzman, trustee for Elyria Township. Good afternoon.
Good morning, Bill. Oh, I guess it is afternoon. Yep.
The Elyria Township Board of Trustees is in opposition of this annexation case. The Church of the Open Door Complex got its start in Elyria Township, and it's an institution in our township that we would like to keep in the township. The complex currently has water service. It's serviced by on-site wastewater treatment plant, and also has the remainder of the utilities required to maintain the facility that they have there today. Elyria Township services the facility with fire department and rescue services that we believe to be a good service to the facility. Police protection is provided by the Sheriff's Department, which we feel was adequate. I believe one of the main goals for this annexation today is, again, to access sewers to replace the on-site sewage system that they have. And the township, one of the questions that we have is whether the city is ready to sewer that, property. We're not sure how they would sewer it. I think they may have to run in some sewers from down the street to access this facility, and I believe that's our main objective here, to sewer the property. The township has been involved with ongoing negotiations with the city of Elyria, basically on access to sanitary sewers, and then also the annexation issues. Unfortunately, we've made some good strides toward that end, but we probably won't have any decisions on those issues until later this year, like in November. So, we're forced to oppose this annexation today. Be happy to answer any questions that anyone has of the township.
Is there any guarantee that the city will sewer this area if it is annexed?
You have to ask them that. I don't know.
Do you have the file, Roxanne? If they passed, the city probably passed an ordinance that said they would offer services, but there's no, they don't indicate that.
Jerry, have you seen any ordinance from the city that they would guarantee sewers?
I think we saw an ordinance. I haven't seen the map as to where the sewers would be run.
Would they have indicated that?
In this information I prepared, it mentions the ordinance 2001-212, dated December 7th. That they were
212.
Oh, here it is, yeah.
dated December 17th.
December when, please?
17th.
But in there, all it did is to say that they would service the area, probably.
There's the map. It's small.
appears to be.
Does this show where the water line, the sewer line's going to go?
I think counsel for the proponents has come in here, and maybe they could approach and answer that question.
Maybe I can answer that question.
Oh, okay. I thought that was
Okay. Dennis Lehman, Church of the Open Door. And what the city has agreed by ordinance to allow us to tap into the sewer. In other words, we're going to have to run a line from, well, the northern part of our property to the southern part of our property, which will be in the city now, and tap into their lift station. They're going to upgrade their lift station. This is what I mentioned last time, was we became aware of this a number of months ago when we were negotiating to sell some property on the southern part of our property, which is down by Turner Boulevard, that the city was going to expand their lift station there and could take in more sewers at that time. Therefore, they said they would allow us to tap in, but we have to bring the line down to them. They are not going to run sewers up our property. And as I said, we have 200 acres, approximately 170 of it is already in the city, and that's where we would probably have to run the sewer line down to them.
I think, if I might, I think the question is are you going to have to obtain easements from any other property owner or go through the township or county roads to do that?
No, because the property we have is just to the east of us, and then we own, like I said, that property goes all the way down to Turner Boulevard. We have frontage on Turner Boulevard, and the new road as it comes through.
Well, I guess my question, Dr. Lehman, would be, is the southern part of your property in the city?
Yes, the eastern part and the southern part.
And you did stipulate that, I think, at the last hearing. Then why would they not allow you to run your line down to property that's already in the city? Why would the city not allow you to do that without having to annex to their
But I don't
boundaries?
think the problem is they wouldn't let us tie into the existing property if it's in the township. All of our buildings and all of our is on the existing 30 acres. We need to tie that. We want to tie that in also with any future building. Matter of fact, we may tie it in before we even build if we can, get the sewer line. To see what we have now, our church and our school and all of our facilities are on that 30 acres, which is in the township. And the EPA said we are maxed out at our sewer level with the aeration system that we have. So obviously they would, if we could build a new building or something on the city property and tie in, but then we're still stuck with the old aeration system with the existing building, which is in all of our buildings right now.
I appreciate that, but it still seems to me that if you were going to go to this expense and you had access to the city sewer for one application, I don't understand why they wouldn't allow you to in fact, do the whole ball of wax and stay where you are. And I guess I would like to ask you, did you have discussion with the city about, in fact, doing that?
Yes.
And they said no?
No. Yeah, the thing was, when we talked about it, they said that with annexation of all of that property and all of our property, then they probably would be willing to do that. But they would not. I think it would set a precedent if they, let you tie in something from a township, I guess, to
Oh, they set several precedents lately by doing that. And
that was the idea when we talked with the city, was they wanted us to annex that 30 acres to go along with the other 170 that we have.
And Trustee Holtzman has talked about the ongoing negotiations with the township is having with the city of Elyria at this point in time. And I would just like to ask Mr. Innes, could this not be part of the negotiations that are ongoing right now?
I believe it is, Commissioner.
It is part of.
You believe that this particular piece of property or this area is part of the negotiations now?
The negotiations we're involved in concerns, well, it impacts in one way or another upon all of Elyria Township.
Okay.
good because, Elyria Township only has 3,840 acres total, and some of that I'm sure is park area, and taking away almost 90 acres from that, a little bit at a time, it's really chewing away at Elyria Township.
Well, our discussions are along the lines of what is going to be practical and reasonable and beneficial to all the property owners. Where it makes sense to remain in the township. Everything we're discussing about is geared toward what will deliver services in the most efficient and economical and beneficial way to the residents and business users in the township. So we're working on things that will accomplish that goal for everybody.
Okay, is there anyone?
If I could just add one thing. As part of the negotiations that we've had with them, I can't get into any specifics really because, it's just been informal discussions. There will be some properties that we will realize that will more than likely be lost to annexation in the process of trying to get the sewers to the major part of the township. So we realize, there's some give and take on both sides here, but it's just, too early to reveal some of the details, on that. So.
Okay. Is there anyone else here that would like to speak either for or against the issue?
My name is Rob Schertauer. I'm also an Elyria Township trustee, and I also oppose the annexation. But when Dr. Lehman came in, my question I asked him, which was I was going to ask now, if there was going to be any further development on the parcel that was to be annexed. And Mr. Lehman answered and says, no, there'll be no more building on the annexed portion. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else that would like to speak for or against the issue?
Madam Chair, I'd like to ask Dr. Lehman about the immediacy of this annexation request in view of, and I don't know how much you know about the agreement that the Elyria Township trustees are trying to negotiate with the city of Elyria, in which our assistant prosecutor has been involved. I guess I need to ask about the immediacy of your need with respect to this request. I know we have specific time frames, and Hal would like you to come to the microphone. We have specific time frames that we have to operate under, but I'm interested in what your time frame is.
What my question would be is, what do you mean by immediacy? When is it they plan to have this formalized or finalized, the agreement?
Well, Mr. Holtzman said that the township is involved in ongoing negotiations, and he anticipated a decision later this year, probably in November.
That's correct. That's not immediacy to me. Immediacy would be within the next month or something.
Well, but I'm asking what your plans are. I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. If you can tell us why you need this annexation at this point in time. Maybe I'm not being very clear in my question.
Well, I would say part of it is, I don't know if we can get the city to save space for us in this sewer. In other words, part of the thing was going to be we were going to try to make sure we had room in that sewer, even if we didn't build something tomorrow, and to be able to save that space. If we go down the road 6-8 months, maybe there's other development within the city that would put it back to capacity. Then, now here we are, then we're at the same place we would have been a few months ago. No way to tie into any city sewers. The only way to expand or do anything would be to completely rebuild our aeration system at we don't know what cost, which is not the same as a city sewer. So that's where the difficulty may come in. I don't know whether the city would, on the pretense that we could get this later on, that they would still guarantee us the space in that sewer or not.
What kind of a guarantee do you have from them now?
Well, there's plenty of space. There's nobody else coming to build. I don't know. Maybe nobody else would come along and want to develop in that area and tie into it. They have a certain number of people that have plans, but there's still space. If they 6 months from now or 7 months from now, that would be the difficulty I would see is if I went to the city and they said, okay, we can guarantee you this space for a year or something like that, then the immediacy might not, be there as far as soon as I would like it.
Well, thank you for your candor. I guess that...
The resolution doesn't specify a time, the city's resolution.
No, that's not.
I'm Attorney Don Longwell, who represents the Church of the Open Door. Just to clarify a couple of things, we are actively right now investigating an expansion because we've got our main 2 services are full to capacity. We need more space. We have a long-range planning committee that is actively meeting, studying the expansion of the church facility in a reasonable time period. Anything we do will likely tie into the current complex, which creates the need to bring that complex within the city limits because the facilities are going to be interlinked. Because we have so much infrastructure, we would never build a new church sanctuary completely on the property that's already in the city of Elyria. It's got to connect to our current facility. There has to be a tie-in, so we utilize the space that we already have. So we are actively investigating that and beginning to take steps to what type of building design and move forward with that. And without access to the sewers, there's nothing we can do.
Thank you.
Jerry, can we continue this?
Well, you have 90 days to make the decision.
When we close the hearing.
When you close the hearing.
But if we do not close this hearing, then that 90 days does not start, does it?
That's correct.
Can we just raise your desirability?
Well, we have 2 other annexations that we continued this morning to a day specific, March 28th. I'm not ready to say yes or no, and I think probably if you're not ready to say yes or no, the better course of action is to continue the issue. I'm sorry to delay the pain, but based on the information that was presented this morning, there's the possibility that this area could be part of what's being discussed now, and I would hate to render a decision on it and then have it be part of what could have been involved in this whole picture. At the same time, I don't want to impede what the Church of the Open Door is doing. And by the way, I travel by your facility quite often, and I'm in admiration of what you've done and what you do in the community. So that's not my focus to try and to impede you. But if you're talking about building plans now, it's going to take a while for you to exactly get concrete, so that even if we waited a while, it still wouldn't it wouldn't prohibit you from doing that, and it takes a while to have an architect draw plans and stuff. Since we've been involved with a few things here, we kind of have a time frame of how long it takes to do something. Do you have anything you want to say? I would. I think I see what you said. Well, and I appreciate that. I would like to move to continue the hearing. So, do you have a recommended date for us, Jerry, or do you want to
go with
keep
when
it
we continue the other hearings?
Just until the 28th, but that's only a couple weeks from now. I mean, we've continued them a couple of times. I'm open to suggestion. I just...
Well, I would be reluctant to leave it hanging out there in the event that we get things resolved. There's no way to move it up if for instance, if you're suggesting continuing at 60 and 90 days, you can't move it up. If you continue at 30 and then you want to continue at 30 more, you can do that.
All right. Based on that, then I would move to continue this hearing to March 28th, when we have two other Elyria Township annexations already been scheduled. And the last, was it 11 and 11:30? Would 12 o'clock be okay then?
I will be out of town that day. The attorney will be here.
Would that be okay with you if we do that? All right, then I move that we continue this hearing until 12 noon on March 28th.
Second.
I would say to council that, we've had the opportunity for the major part of testimony. That would just be more or less an update to see what new information has come forward in the last month.
So you're all in agreement? Okay.
Any more discussion? No. Mrs. Blair?
Aye.
Mrs. Massey?
Aye. Thank you very much.
Okay, I move to adjourn.
We need to see Jerry in
Oh, I'm
executive
sorry.
session. Okay. So you want to move to go into executive session?
Yes.
And I'll second that.
Mrs. Massey?
Aye.
Mrs. Blair?
Aye. Okay.